Shall we get started? It is my pleasure to introduce our first presenter for tonight. If you're a fan of K-pop, you'll probably learn a few things. Jeff Benjamin is really an authority on the subject. He's Billboard's K-pop columnist. He writes the K-Town blog for Billboard. He's based out of New York. He also writes for Fuse TV, and he's our go-to guy for K-pop. So please welcome Jeff Benjamin.
Imagine my surprise. It's my very first K-pop interview, and it's with the Wonder Girls. They are here in America. They're doing an English album, supposedly. They're doing, they have a song with Akon, and I'm excited. Of course I'm excited. It was my first K-pop interview, and when I was doing interviews with no matter what kind of artist, whether they're Western bass or Eastern bass, I always love reaching out on Twitter and seeing what fans want to ask. So I'd done that and gotten great responses from Jason Mraz and Robin Thicke, actually. And I, of course, wanted to do it with Wonder Girls. And of course, I had I expected great enthusiasm. They were all really excited. But what I hadn't anticipated were text messages from unknown numbers to me asking me where the Wonder Girls would be, and can I come with you to meet the Wonder Girls, and can I take a picture with you after you meet the Wonder Girls? And it's funny, but it's kind of an example of the extreme fanaticism that, people show towards act like Wonder Girls and other K-pop groups. Just this past weekend, it's kind of a funny timing. Just this past weekend, we saw Girls' Generation. Yeah, it's exciting. We saw another K-pop group win a big award at the very first YouTube Music Awards. They won Video of the Year against the likes of Miley Cyrus and Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber, these which also have huge, huge fan bases. But they ended up winning, and so a little more on that in a little bit. But that's really why I'm here today, is because to talk to you about the global scape of K-pop fan bases and how they can compete with Western fan bases like Justin Bieber's and Miley Cyrus's and Lady Gaga's, but also find out why they're like this, and then also to talk about the big hurdle that I see them as needing to get through in order to continue K-pop's growth in the way that we've seen so far. So first, K-pop fans, the facts. You are part of a fan base. If you are a K-pop fan, you identify literally with a certain name that to a lot of us who speak English doesn't really mean anything. This is just a cute graphic I found online with, some of the words that, if you're a Wonder Girls fan, you're a wonderful. But if you're a Girls' Generation fan, you're a so own. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these, but, it's something that you identify with. You take on a different kind of identity. There's also the netizens. A big thing with K-pop's growth has been how it's been able to grow online. And that's what we see with YouTube and lots of things like that, is that a netizen is the combination word of internet and citizen. You are a citizen of the internet, a netizen, and they are known for being kind of harsh with their K-pop stars and discussing everything from knee bruises that Nana from After School has, because that's important to talk about. They're kind of known as being a little crazy, but it really does come from the right place. It comes from being passionate. It comes from being excited. So much so that sometimes they get a little too crazy. There's kind of a bad term for the fans that take it a little too far. Saesang fans, where, they're kind of infamous in Korea for dropping out of school and breaking into artists' homes because, they really want to be connected and be attached to these artists. And, like I was saying, it really does come from the right place, and ultimately it can accomplish great things like we saw with Wonder Girls. And any Western site, if you don't cover K-pop, though, they'll tell you that, you get a huge response from K-pop fans who want to see, who want to vote for their artists, who want to see their artists being covered on their site and everything. It's just, it's really exciting to see that, especially on a place like YouTube, where there really are no country restrictions. It's just, you sit down and you watch a video and you take in the music and you take in the visuals. It's quite easy to just sit there and take it in, and there really is no kind of restriction or holdings on it. And I think that's why we've been able to see, or it's obviously why we've been able to see K-pop push so far into other countries and be so prominent in other countries. You look at that against, someone like my Business Insider pointed out that Miley Cyrus, she broke the YouTube record for 24-hour views, the 15 million views for her latest record. That beat something that One Direction put out a couple months before. The most views in 24 hours. And that is a huge amount of views and a huge amount of people sitting and watching a video. But the difference comes, what I was trying to say is that the difference is that they still weren't able to win something like Video of the Year at the YouTube Music Awards. And I really think that, it comes as being, Miley Cyrus and One Direction fans, they may have a lot of people sitting down to watch the video, maybe watch it again, and then, maybe watching it with a friend a little later. But I would argue that that is a passive way of sharing. What we're seeing from K-pop fans is really an active way of sharing. To win YouTube's Music Video Award, you had to take this nomination video and you had to share it on Google Plus and Facebook and Twitter, and your votes were exemplified if you got someone else to share your share. And it was a very active way of voting for something. You had to not only say that I want to identify with this group, but I also want to support them, and I want you to support them too and help me support them. And I thought that was really special in the way that Girls' Generation won. But why do fans act like this? Why do they get so active, and why do they get so passionate about what they're doing? And that is my next point, and is why I think it comes down really to the root of what K-pop music is and how it's created. Everyone knows that K-pop stars work really, really hard. You don't just sign a record deal and you get to, put out an album a couple months later. You train for years. Sometimes you don't even get to really put out music. And that's something really special, is that, K-pop stars are really reluctant to talk about their actual harsh realities. But, I got to talk to Becca, who was a former member of After School. And, she's talking about, how she barely got to sleep, sometimes only an hour, when they're supposed to be able to perform and make people happy. It really is kind of fascinating. And it's just, it's a harsh world where they work really hard, and I think fans really want to support them first and foremost. With that, you have every weekend, you have music programs that these artists perform on every weekend. If they have a single that they're promoting, they go on these performance shows and they perform every weekend, and they do several of them every weekend. I mean, could you imagine if we made like Rihanna and Justin Bieber do that? They would just never do it. It's just not that same dedication to hard work that fans truly want to push. With that, I have a tiny little video clip. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's about 90 seconds where you can dance in this. So here's the first 30 seconds. But, just a little clip by a cute little girl group named A-Pink. And if we could play this clip. Chanting with them. Great, thank you. So yeah, I mean, remember, that's a TV show. That's something where they have to have the music playing loud enough to be picked up for cameras, and the singers need to be singing, and those are fans wanting to cheer on their group, and they, want to say that, hey, we're with you with this, we're doing it with you, and we are going to be so loud. And that's another thing too, is that, you don't get that weekly interaction with your music stars like we do in the West. Yeah, with that, you also have, of course, the fan bases that I was Yeah, you have your fan base. You have your fan bases that I was talking about before. You know, you literally take on a new identity. You know, it's part of these companies to create a fan base name for your different artists. You choose an official color, and you choose an official, sometimes, symbol of what you of how you represent, how this fan base is represented of itself. And you know, that is just something that every company needs to think of eventually. They literally need to sit down and decide what is the color they're going to choose and what is the fan base name. But I think the most interesting part of that is that the actual music doesn't necessarily fit under one genre. And here's where that last 60 seconds of dancing comes from. Here's 8 clips of a couple hit songs throughout the past year.
나 지금 할 말 있어 다시 남자가 사랑할 땐 꼭 항상 곁에 머물던 선물 날 밀어내지 마 우리 둘이 지금 여기서 사라지기 전에
Now, for some reason, I mean, hopefully you've heard, hopefully you heard that, it's a lot of different sounds. I heard jazz, I heard 80s synths, you hear a little DJ scratch and whatever it may be. It's a lot of different sounds that get placed under one umbrella of being pop music. And I think that's really interesting that, taking this all into consideration is that for some reason it's all supposed to be placed in this genre, in this niche. And mainstream music in America, at least, you have hip hop, you have dance music, you have pop, you have R&B, whatever it is, and it all just kind of goes into one mainstream identity. But for some reason, K-pop music is supposed to all fit under one sort of genre, and I think that thinking is a little skewed. And this is why I really, truly, truly believe that K-pop music, it's a culture. It's not only being a part of, liking the music, but it's also liking all the things that come with K-pop. It's liking the fan bases. It's liking all these artists going on music programs every week. It's liking, all the different sounds that come from an artist. I would venture to say that an artist might put out, a very dancey song, and then they might do a slow ballady song with, acoustic guitars and drums, and you may love it just as much. I truly think that fans love the culture of it, and, other people today will be talking about, cinema and dramas, and that's another part of the culture. But I truly believe it's a culture. And then, with that, it comes back to that even though it is a culture, for some reason fans really do identify with one group and fan base in particular. Many people, they identify as Sones, or they identify as Hottest if you are into PM, or if you're a fan of SHINee, you're a Shawwal, or you're a So-on, as I mentioned before. And I really think that way of thinking is a little skewed, or is a little wrong in the way that, not necessarily wrong, I should say, but it's just a little, my whole point is that I really want to see K-pop move forward, and identifying strictly as one fan base won't help move the genre forward. But it's really is because of that willingness, that curiosity, that interest in, just checking out an artist or a song, or, even if one group describes their song as, very dancey and hip-hoppy, and you may not be into dance or hip-hop at all, you'll likely still check them out. And I really hope that interest and that excitement, or at least that curiosity, can translate into all K-pop groups. Yeah, I mean, something that I realized is that I wrote Rolling Stone's very first article on K-pop. I was really excited about this. I was so honored to write it. It was the 10 K-pop groups most likely to break America. And I was like, oh, this is so, exciting. I'm going to, fans are gonna love it. But, and I wrote it with a very, unbiased opinion. I, wrote it as a way to, who I saw as being accessible to a Western audience, or an American audience in this case. But I was sort of disheartened to see there were 1,500 comments, but almost all the comments were just fans fighting with each other about how it was so sad, and they were dissing me most of the time too. It's like, just saying how this person shouldn't have been there, this person should have been there, oh my gosh, how could you not include this person? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And, it was all these fan wars, and it was so sad to see because I saw this as a huge move. Rolling Stone is like the iconic music magazine, rock music in particular. And they were finally giving a really cool look to K-pop, and then it was all about the fan wars, essentially. So it was a little disheartening to see. But what I've seen, though, is really cool is my little signature, I like to think, is that whenever I'm doing something shareable or listy, as it was mentioned before, I'm a writer for Fuse Music Television as well, and, in this list, 25 adorable songs about moms, I included Girls' Generation in there because they had this great song about moms, and it was really cool to see that type, it got a lot of views, it got a lot of popularity, and I'm really hoping that it was because K-pop fans were excited to see a K-pop song alongside, Elvis and Tupac and Taylor Swift. The thing that I really want to hone in is that, K-pop music, it's popular music, it's a business ultimately. These companies want to make money, and every company wants to be the first, or they want to be the trailblazer, or they want to be the best to do it wherever you are. And I think a lot of us are obviously here in America, but whatever country you're in, show enthusiasm for K-pop as the culture, as the exciting, force that it is, because, companies need to have the means to go there, and they need to have a reason to go there, or else they're just not gonna do it. We all, what those Wonder Girls fans really showed to me is that, they wanted to be so connected to their idols that they were just, they're untouchables in that way. They work so hard, they're just very glamorous and very put together, but it's still hard to connect with them, especially when you don't, live in South Korea. And that's the thing that I ultimately hope fans that truly realize is that pushing forward the actual Korean culture, or the actual K-pop culture altogether will just, help those fans connect with your artists, whether it's your favorite or whether it's an artist that, you just, happen to be interested in or curious in. It's by pushing forward just the altogether K-pop culture and realizing that it's a culture that, hopefully you'll be able to see one day that, your favorite stars and my favorite stars will all come and we'll all be able to connect with them on an even more personal level. Thank you so much.